Hello and welcome to Wellbeing. I'm Graham Wilson. Today we're diving into a topic that affects just about everyone who spends time in front of a computer, the hidden health risks of prolonged desk work, and more importantly, what can be done about it. Whether you're working from home, working in an office, or a mix of both, the way we set up our workstations and the habits we build can have a huge impact on our comfort, productivity, and long-term well-being. Our guest, Dr Liz Kirk, is an ergonomics and workplace health expert with over 20 years' experience in research, training and consultancy. She holds a PhD from the University of Queensland, where she developed a world-first multidisciplinary ergonomics and injury prevention training program, achieving reductions of up to 100% in musculoskeletal discomfort in workplace trials. And she's the founder of BeyondErgo, which delivers practical, evidence-based solutions that go beyond checklists to teach real-world self-care skills. She's here on Wellbeing today to share her insights. Liz, thanks for joining us on the program.
Great, thanks for having me.
Tell me a bit about your background and how you landed on this particular topic to research for a PhD.
Well, Graham, as often is the case, the trigger to develop this program came from my own experience in the field of working with computers and then experiencing that pain. So after years of working as a trainer in various experiential programs like outdoor leadership and team building, I decided to jump back into corporate health, and it was the first time I'd had to work on a computer for long periods of time. So what I thought was going to be an easy 9-to-5 job turned out to be the most stressful job of my life. Very quickly, I developed the back pain, the shoulder pain, the headaches, and the sore eyes. So I realized that I should be the last person to get those injuries because I knew about healthy exercise and injury prevention, workplace health and safety, and the basics of ergonomics, but I still ended up in a lot of pain. So I realized that there was that niche of training that hadn't been developed. And so that sent me back to uni to do that doctorate. And because I needed to understand all the new health risks of computer-based work, and I needed to know how to translate that knowledge back to practical work skills. And my supervisors, I have to admit, found that concept of working back really hard because their focus is on extending knowledge, while my focus was on, we've got all this knowledge, why aren't people able to apply it effectively as injury prevention work skills? So it's very much more of a vet-style training program.
In 2013, your research earned the Dean's Award. Was that while you were still conducting the research, or had it been published at that stage?
Yes, it had been published by then.
Okay.
So, yes, yeah.
So what did that recognition mean for you?
Oh, it was amazing because I'm sure as people recognise that doing a PhD is a very in-depth look at a specific subject, and most PhDs have to go through resubmissions, I guess, because when you send them out to be marked, then there's usually lots of changes and adaptations that need to be made. But my PhD went out and it was accepted on that first round, and I got some wonderful reviews from the markers, both in Australia and internationally, that were reviewing that, including a marker who was working in the action research field. So he had never seen action research used in terms of ergonomic and injury prevention. So yes, he was referencing my work in the work that he then started to apply. So yes, I was very proud of that award.
How soon after completing your doctorate did you begin creating BeyondErgo?
The doctorate itself was a major part of creating the foundations for the program. But of course, I still had small children, and then COVID struck, and I was taking care of aged parents, both my husband's aged parents and then my mum. So it has been a slow progress, but over time and with the support of industry, particularly the contact centre industry and the AusContact in particular, who have been an amazing support, then the program has evolved and has become more in-depth. And the original PhD research very much focused on the practical application of the ergonomic information, but taking the time to explore the changes and the amount of infiltration that technology has in every part of our lives meant that I also had the time to expand the training to a much broader range of work skills that were needed before I really started rolling out into the workplace. So what we're talking about now is extending that hierarchy of injury prevention to a next tier, which I call personal protective behaviours, so PPBs, which sort of extends on from that personal protective equipment. It's that, what can I do to care for myself, and how do I take those actions?
Well, we'll get into that a bit more soon, but can we first understand the problem? Let's talk about the risks of desk work and computer work. What are the most common health issues that you see from prolonged computer and desk work?
Yes. So when I first started doing the research, of course, we were very much focused on the musculoskeletal disorders. And that original research showed that over 86% of people working in offices and call centres had some level of discomfort, and over 11% were struggling with chronic pain. But with the evolution of this more intense computer use by more people, we're finding now that it's also more psychosocial as well. There's an expanded range, as well as more recognition about eye disorders and how it's affecting not only people in the workplace, but of course students, and now even primary school students. So what we're looking at, particularly since the COVID shutdown, when everybody was sent home with laptops and we became more sedentary, that we've had that increase in aches and pains, but we're also showing that that slouch posture that we're commonly seeing when we're using laptops and mobile devices actually impairs the blood flow and oxygen to the brain. So it's affecting cognitive performance and potentially increasing the risk of long-term cognitive decline and even dementia. And we also now know that that head down posture that we see is strongly linked to feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, anxiety, and even depression. So given how often we see people constantly looking down at their phones, I really wonder if that's contributed to the increased need for mental health first aid programs in the workplace. And we also know that these new injuries are not limited to older employees. Gen Zs are now entering the workforce already injured because of the amount of time they're spending on screens, and already taking more time off for head and neck, back and neck pain than any other generation currently working in the workforce. And we also know that this excessive screen use has been linked to digital dementia, which is that constant mental overstimulation, which is now being associated with cognitive, emotional, and behavioural disorders. So when we combine all the new risks with our increasingly sedentary work and lifestyle, all those risks are multiplying because the protection of exercise and healthy movement breaks aren't being implemented. So with an ageing workforce and young employees already injured, and having increasing health risks, businesses that fail to recognise and address these challenges are quietly losing money through lost productivity, workers' compensation claims, and higher staff turnover.
It's a perfect storm, isn't it?
It is. It's a perfect storm. You're right.
Can being mindful of an ergonomic checklist prevent repetitive strain and chronic conditions?
I love the use of being mindful, but I feel that in ergonomics, even with a good implementation of an ergonomic workstation setup, it's only about 30% of the answer of well-being for these computer-based workplaces. We also need a broader range now of positive work behaviours, and we need ongoing physical conditioning to stay fit for work. Computer work looks easy, but it's surprisingly and deceptively mentally and physically demanding, especially in roles that are customer facing like contact centres. Those consultants are now dealing with a high level of psychosocial risks, including the fast pace and repetitive work and increasing abuse of phone calls. So as part of the work skills, we need to train staff to be mindful about how their body feels and to know how to take early actions to prevent that pain escalating into injury and chronic health conditions. And it's not just accepting that you're going to have aches and pains and popping a Panadol and booking your next chiropractic appointment. It's about going, okay, my shoulder's starting to hurt. That could be because my mouse has drifted away from my keyboard or because I've realized I'm leaning on my elbow too much. So being mindful and building that awareness is a really important work skill when we're working in these computer-based work environments.
Can you highlight some specific problems then caused by a lack of understanding of the ideal screen height and the distance you are from your screen? And you mentioned laptops earlier. Well, you didn't specifically say laptops, but I assumed that's what you were talking about when you were looking down. You're either looking into your phone, your tablet, or a laptop. That's the position, isn't it? You're looking down at that.
Yes, constantly. And you're quite right. Probably screen height and screen distance are two of the most common questions and issues that I find when people are setting up their workstation, particularly screen heights, because people are usually now either have their screen too high or too low if they're on a desktop. And it's very simple because the idea is that your head is very heavy. So having it out of place, creates a lot of strain on our neck and shoulders, and the muscles in your neck and shoulders are designed to hold the weight of your head with your chin tucked in and a slight downward gaze. So not holding that position, and of course computer work generally builds up a lot of tension in our neck and shoulders. So we have to constantly release that tension and settle back into a more relaxed posture. If we don't do that, that increased tension builds into that neck pain, the back pain, and the tension headache. And of course, screen distance is important because when you have your screen too close, your eyes are having to work very hard to stay focused at a close distance. And our blink rate decreases when we're working on screens. So combined, that's leading to those scratchy, sore red eyes and again, the headaches, and even into migraines for people that are particularly susceptible. So luckily, both those things are easy to fix in judging those and making sure that you refine the generic ergonomic recommendations to match your own stature. And the first one's really easy, screen height. The ergonomic recommendations would say that the center of your screen should be 17.5 degrees below eye level, and nobody knows what that means. And it's why, of course, we get the screens too high or too low. But if people settle back into their chair and put their arm parallel to the work surface and point to their screen, their fingertips are now about 17.5 degrees below eye level. So they should be pointing to the center of their screen. So easy. We've just refined that generic recommendation into matching your stature, and you'll know it's absolutely right for you. And it doesn't matter if you're sitting or standing on a laptop or a desktop. If you're 4 nothing or 6'8", you've just refined the recommendations to match you. And the same goes for screen distance. The recommendations, the research actually says that the most comfortable viewing distance for your eyes, so they don't have to work too hard to stay focused, is about 82 centimeters from the bridge of your nose. So for a lot of people, if they reach out and can touch their screen, their screen might be too close. Unless you're sort of over 5'8", then you'll have to manage that. And of course, it's all about refining what you're doing to match you. And again, if you've got glasses on, if you're using two screens, it's all about matching what you're doing and feeling whether that's right for you and adjusting it to match what you're doing.
How important is it to take breaks when you're doing intensive screen or desk work?
Oh, Graham, breaks are absolutely essential. Breaks are the number one reason that we get so uncomfortable and aches and pains at work. So normally just working on computers, we build up a lot of, as I mentioned, a lot of tension in our neck and shoulders. And by taking a break, we get the opportunity to consciously relax and reset a posture back to relaxed and neutral. And that's a really good mindful action to take, because a lot of people will be sitting in an awkward posture and they won't realize it because it feels natural. So taking a break, consciously relaxing and settling back into a relaxed, neutral posture is a great way to reset your posture. What people don't realize too is that even after 20 minutes, your body's metabolism has dropped dramatically. So your body starts to use less energy and starts going into hibernation, like your body saves energy and like the computer saves energy and goes into hibernation, so does your body. It's one of the reasons it's so easy to put weight on when you're working at computers for long periods of time. So even taking small breaks every 30 minutes, like doing a stretch, rolling your ankles, standing up and doing a little jiggle, just helps boost that metabolism back up and relax that and release that muscle tension. And of course, taking longer breaks through the day away from screens, taking a brisk walk at lunchtime is not only great for your physical health, it's also great for your mental health and as a stress relief as well.
It sounds like those sort of things would be relatively simple to do. But you press on, you get a job done, and you forget to do these things. You know, you get engrossed in what you're doing. Or you think, oh, I've got to get this done so I can get out of here. And you don't allow time to do that.
Yes, you're quite right. And just taking little breaks, you don't have to break your concentration, you don't have to break your flow, but you do have to break that muscle tension and relax and release your head just for a moment from that intense mental actions. So, just taking a deep breath, relax, reset, and then getting back into what you're doing, even that has significant benefits to the muscle tension and to your stress.
You're listening to Wellbeing. Our guest is Dr Liz Kirk, an ergonomics and workplace health expert, and she's the founder of BeyondErgo, delivering practical evidence-based solutions that go beyond checklists and teach real-world self-care skills. Liz, let's talk about the responsibility that leaders of business have to reduce workplace health and safety risks. What does it look like in practice for a leader?
Yes, and I have to admit, I work mostly with the leaders. They have a huge role and they're already busy doing all the technical support and the managing and the sharing and the reporting and things like that. But you're right, they have a responsibility to provide safe working conditions. And that also includes that safety, that workplace health and safety and wellness training. So with the increased health risks, they do have a responsibility to raise awareness and extend training to cover these new health risks that we now know are associated with computer-based work. But staff, of course, do have a responsibility to stay fit for work, but they can't do that without the right information, the right training, and the right support. So as a really quick example, during COVID, everybody was sent home with laptops. But laptops were never designed as a primary work computer because it forces you into a turtle posture where you're really slouched and your head is now down, your chin is jutting forward, you're very close to the screen, and that awkward posture leads to fatigue, headaches, poor concentration, increased muscle tension, and even injury to the vertebrae over time. It also increases the upper back pain, it increases keying errors, it increases the risk of a repetitive strain injury, and it increases visual fatigue. Now, clearly, using a laptop flat on a work surface it means it's impossible to take up that recommended relaxed neutral work posture that the ergonomic recommendations advise. So if a leader has not supplied a laptop stand with an external keyboard and mouse and the training on how to use those and why it's important, then I believe they might not have met their duty of care obligations. So that should be a concern for all the leaders that have sent their staff home, or just their staff constantly using laptops flat on the work surface, because that has implications for their work cover claims, their insurance covers, and possibly even some liability issues under the new changes to the workplace health and safety regulations.
Is it better to use a laptop sitting in a lounge chair on your lap rather than on a flat desk, from what you're describing?
No, and it's a really big question, because the trick really is not to get stuck in one position, but you also have to make sure that you're able to establish a relaxed neutral position that is supported. So when you're slouched when you're even resting back on the lounge chair, you may have to make sure that maybe if you're leaning back, that your head is supported, that your arms are supported, that you're able to use the keyboard in a way that's not stressful for your body. So generally, no, I haven't seen, even on lounge chairs, a really good setup. Sometimes when I go into a company, a client, one of the staff members will pull me aside because they want to know how to set up their gaming station at home, because they're gaming on weekends, and that's obviously a big problem for musculoskeletal disorders and headaches and things like that. So sometimes it's better to maybe get a big bean bag, a big heavy one that you can really scrunch down into, that you can then nestle into and get your arms resting. But it still means that you're locked into one position for long periods of time, and you still have a lot of overuse of small muscles. So the trick is to keep moving, establish that nice, relaxed, supported, neutral posture when you can, but you've got to have breaks away from all screen use, particularly the small movements of scrolling and mouse use. So sadly, sitting in front of the TV, scrolling through social media is not a break away from screens. We have to give our bodies time to recover from all the small repetitive movements that we're using now with technology.
So I guess that's part of the responsibility that an individual would have to take for supporting their own health. They have to choose what to do when they're not at their desktop.
Yes, exactly. As I say, you've got a responsibility not just to stay fit for work, but for your long-term health, because a significant musculoskeletal disorder can decrease your earning capacity for the next 4 to 5 years. And even though the cost to a business is substantial, it's that injured individual that covers 70% of the cost of an injury. And I'm starting to see a bit of a cycle in the workplace where people are recording that they're having increased discomfort, and the business will do the best with a workstation assessment and their employee assistance programs and get them their new expensive ergonomic chair, but it hasn't solved the triggers that are causing that pain. So eventually that person is in such pain that they will leave work and take 6 months off to recover, but then they go back into the workplace at the same level that they left, and the whole cycle starts again. So even for long-term career development, that's obviously not a good cycle to be in.
You mentioned that you deal mostly at the corporate level with people in workplaces, and that's what your company, BeyondErgo, is about. What are the measurable benefits when an organisation invests in wellness training for its employees?
Oh, yes, huge benefits for lots of really good reasons. So obviously for the staff themselves, when they have a good supportive wellness and ergonomics program in place, they're more productive, more engaged, and they're better managed. They can better manage their own health and responsibilities to stay fit for work. For the leaders, these new workplace health and safety and wellness skills, being able to support and coach their teams is now seen as a leadership skill. So they're being seen as better leaders. And for the companies themselves, of course, it improves their labour costs. They have less attrition, less absenteeism, less presenteeism, and they can attract and hold on to more high-performing staff. So the return on the investment rates do vary. For a workplace health and safety and general workplace program, for every dollar invested, it's estimated that businesses can expect a gain of $3 to $6 as a return on that investment. And for wellness and mental health programs, that return on investment for each dollar is about $2.30 to $5 for a return on that investment. So it's really worthwhile.
You mentioned earlier personal protective behaviours. How do these differ from traditional ergonomic fixes, like people being told, get your screen height right, take some breaks? What are these personal protective behaviours specifically?
Yeah, so ergonomics are basically engineering controls. So they're giving you a range of acceptable adjustments, but they don't actually show you how to refine those adjustments to match your own stature and your own needs. So personal protective behaviours are that range of skills that we now need. So it's being able to refine the ergonomic recommendations to match your stature. It's having a broad range of positive work behaviours. So it goes way beyond taking the stairs and eating a salad. So it includes things like being mindful about your posture, being able to reset postures back to relaxed and neutral. It's about taking the breaks and having a good choice of breaks to take. But it also includes the targeted physical conditioning that we need to stay fit for work. Because as I say, we're more sedentary and this work is surprisingly hard. So there's a specific range of physical conditioning that we need that helps strengthen our bodies in the right places so we recover more quickly and helps prevent an injury actually occurring in the first place.
So simple, no-cost habits that people can use immediately are the things you're talking about, like movement, micro movements and desk stretches. Do they work?
Yes, absolutely. Really important. So just each time, I build in a lot of very natural breaks into the workplace. So rather than using timers and things, each time I take a sip of my drink, I might roll my ankles. Each time I think, I've been reading for a while, I'm going to stand up and do a bit of a jiggle. When I use my height adjustable workstation, if I'm doing light work that I don't have to focus on, I stand, I go through my emails, I check who's talking to me, I check my social media, I make some posts. But when I'm doing really focused work, writing work and program designing, then I'm sitting and I'm focused in on what I'm doing and I lock down into that. So I move between standing and sitting and I make sure I have those mini and micro breaks throughout the day. And of course, I'm mindful. If my shoulder starts to hurt a bit, then I think, okay, I might look at my mouse placement, I'm going to do my stretches, I'm going to check some of the things that will cause that ache to start and then adjust it early.
Have you seen some measurable benefits that you could tell us about when organisations adopt your methods?
Oh, I've had some lovely results. I've had staff come and track me down to tell me that they're no longer getting their migraines, or I've had parents come because they've actually shared these simple stretches or actions or adjustments with their kids or their husbands, and the benefits have been, they've sent me emails and tracked me down to tell me. Or one of the people I worked with sent me this beautiful note that when she started work, she'd had to go and see a chiropractor every 2 weeks because of the pain. But since adjusting her workstation to match her stature, because she was only little, so she was only, I think, 5'2", so we had to work to make sure it matched her stature well. Doing the stretches, doing the tension release and the trigger releases meant that last time she saw her chiropractor, he said, look, you're so good, you don't need to make another booking. Just call me if you need to, and, maybe do a fresher in 3 months. So financially, the benefit was amazing. And I love the feedback from the team leaders, those frontline leaders, that they feel that they've got a new skill to share with their teams, a new way of supporting their teams. They're so engaged with their teams. And it wasn't just about better productivity. It's about the whole team being happier and more relaxed and better conversations. And it's another way of enhancing those wellness conversations that escalate into a wellness culture, because you've got another simple way to talk to your team and care for your team. So they really feel as if the company's on their side.
Is there one practical tip that people should take hold of immediately that will improve their ergonomic outlook?
Oh, yes. The big one is to find ways to build more movement into their day. Movement is medicine for our bodies and our minds. So, those quick stretches, those small breaks, the walking, ensuring that you have more social activities built into your week. So especially things like dancing or gardening or singing, social activities that are also active are really important. And of course, one of the other things is to ask your workplace to expand training to cover these new practical self-care skills, because we need to go beyond the ergonomic checklist and really make training more practical so people know how to apply those skills to protect themselves.
Thanks, Liz. Great advice today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our guest, Dr Liz Kirk, is the founder of BeyondErgo, delivering practical, evidence-based solutions that go beyond checklists and teach real-world self-care skills. The website, if you want to find out more, is beyondergo.com.au. Thanks for listening. I'm Graham Wilson, and all of us at Wellbeing wish you well.